Welcome back, gearheads. In the 1970s, while muscle cars stole the spotlight, some American sleepers quietly roamed the streets. One of these cars could leave a Camaro in the dust and still look like it belonged in a grocery store parking lot. These are the 10 unknown American sleeper cars of the 1970s. Number 10, 1975 Buick Century Luxus 455. You're at a stoplight, eyeing up a land yacht with a vinyl roof, white walls, and the kind of chrome trim that screams Sunday church service. You're thinking it's harmless until it roars off the line and leaves you choking on its dust. That's the secret of the 1975 Buick Century Luxus 455. It played the part of a slow, soft cruiser perfectly. Big, boxy, and dripping with formal Detroit elegance. But underneath that quiet, buttoned-up look was a 455 cubic inch V8, an engine that packs serious heat when the light turned green. The kind of engine usually reserved for full-blown muscle cars. This wasn't just about size either. The big Buick pumped out around 230 horsepower and a monstrous 370 pound-feet of torque, even in the era of tightening emission standards. In the right hands, it could launch the heavy frame from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 7.5 seconds. Numbers that embarrass plenty of so-called performance cars still hanging on in the mid-70s. The story gets even better when you realize the Luxus trim wasn't marketed as anything remotely sporty. Buick sold it as a premium, quiet, almost sleepy sedan. No stripes, no spoilers, no aggressive badging, just a giant couch on wheels that could quietly hand you an unexpected loss at the lights. Of course, not everything about it was perfect. The Century Luxus 455 suffered from serious weight issues, tipping scales well over 4,000 pounds. And by 1975, horsepower numbers across the board were dropping hard thanks to federal regulations. It wasn't a track weapon. It wasn't meant to be. But if you happened to line up next to one thinking it was slow, you might find yourself in a world of regret. And that's only number 10. Wait till you see what's still coming. Number 9, 1977 Dodge Monaco 440. Thought the last one was sneaky? Get ready. The next machine rolled up dressed like a rolling living room, chrome flashing, hubcaps gleaming. Nothing about it screamed speed. But buried under all that shine was a heart built to embarrass real muscle cars without even trying. At a time when most automakers were trying to soften their image, Dodge quietly slipped a monster into one of the most unsuspecting packages, the 1977 Dodge Monaco. In its most common form, it was the classic oversized American sedan. Flat hood, giant bumpers, and enough steel to survive a demolition derby. But there was a catch. If you knew what box to check at the dealership, you could order it with the mighty 440 cubic inch V8. This wasn't some watered-down version either. The police spec 440 churned out around 255 horsepower and a brutal 375 pound-feet of torque. Even weighed down by government-mandated safety equipment and miles of sheet metal, the Monaco could hustle to 60 miles per hour in roughly 7.8 seconds. Quicker than a lot of so-called sports coupes of the day. And it did it all without screaming for attention. No fancy trim, no sport badges, no hint that this rolling living room had enough grunt to embarrass lighter, flashier cars. But here's the twist. Despite the firepower, the Monaco wasn't built for finesse. It was big, heavy, and drank fuel like it was free. Handling? Let's just say you didn't want to test your luck on a twisty road. Still on a straightaway, the 440-powered Monaco was a silent assassin. An unassuming beast hiding behind square headlights and padded vinyl roofs. And if you think that's crazy, the next sleeper makes even police cars look slow. Number 8, 1973 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser 455. You've seen big sedans pull off the sleeper act, but what about a family wagon? One that looked ready for PTA meetings and grocery runs, not back alley drag races. Long roof, wood grain vibes, and a raised glass roof, pure suburban camouflage. That's the 1973 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser. It didn't flash muscle. It didn't need to. Tucked beneath all that family-friendly sheet metal, if you checked the right box, was Oldsmobile's legendary 455 cubic inch V8, turning a humble hauler into a highway assassin. And this wasn't some neutered station wagon version either. The 455 in the Vista Cruiser pushed out around 250 horsepower and a crushing 370 pound-feet of torque, even as emissions laws started choking out the golden era. Thanks to that torque tsunami, this near 5,000-pound wagon could sprint to 60 miles per hour in about 7.7 seconds. Fast enough to make a '74 Camaro owner cry into his coffee. All while your family's groceries stayed cold in the back. The Vista Cruiser wasn't without its flaws, though. Being a wagon, it carried a lot of weight in all the wrong places. Cornering was more of a hold your breath and hope situation, and the brakes had a bad habit of reminding you just how much momentum you were trying to stop. But in a straight line, few cars dared to laugh when this grocery getter roared. And believe it or not, the next car on the list looks even less like a threat, but packs a secret that made it one of the most dangerous sleepers of the entire decade. Number 7, 1974, AMC Matador, Brougham 401. By now, you're probably thinking these sleepers can't get any crazier. But just wait until you hear about the next car. It might look like a family sedan, but its heart was pure muscle. A full-on stealth attack dressed in a tuxedo. The 1974 AMC Matador Brougham might have seemed like a car for the suburbs, complete with plush seating and a suave interior. But under the hood, AMC didn't mess around. The Matador was available with the 401 cubic inch V8, a beast that kicked out a solid 330 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. Sure, it was no lightweight, tipping the scales at nearly 4,000 pounds, but this thing could still launch off the line faster than you'd expect, with a 0 to 60 time sitting around 7.6 seconds. On the outside, the Matador couldn't have been more understated. A smooth, almost corporate look, the kind of car you'd expect to see pulling into a parking lot on a Monday morning, ready for the daily grind. But just a few seconds later, it could be the same car pulling away from muscle cars that thought they had the race in the bag. Of course, like many of the sleepers we've seen, the Matador had its quirks. The handling wasn't anything to write home about, and the suspension often felt like it belonged on a softer, more leisurely ride. Still in a straight line, the Matador 401 was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Think that's wild? Trust me, the next car up on this list might just leave you questioning everything you know about the 1970s. And if you're loving these hidden gems, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss the rest of the list. Number 6, 1970 Ford LTD 429. You might think you've seen it all until you spot a plush, leather-trimmed land yacht quietly rolling up next to you. And then it absolutely smokes you off the line. Big, heavy, and built for Sunday drives, or so you thought. The 1970 Ford LTD 429 looked like something meant for golf outings and country club dinners, not backroad brawls. But hiding under all that comfort and chrome was a 429 cubic inch V8, ready to hand out some serious street lessons to anyone foolish enough to mistake it for just another boulevard cruiser. With around 360 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque, the LTD 429 could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 7.5 seconds. Impressive for a car that weighed over 4,000 pounds and had all the elegance of a corporate fleet vehicle. The engine's torque meant it could easily outrun many muscle cars of the time without even trying, all while cruising comfortably with leather seats and air conditioning. But as with many of these sleepers, the LTD 429 wasn't without its flaws. Despite all that power, the car's massive weight did affect its handling, and the suspension, built for comfort, wasn't exactly race-ready. Still, it was hard to deny the thrill of surprising everyone at the light with a car they thought was just a luxury cruiser. And speaking of surprises, the next car on our list, it doesn't just look unassuming, it practically screams dad car, but don't be fooled. Number 5, 1971. Pontiac T37 455. You might be starting to wonder how many more family cars are hiding these kinds of surprises. Well, the next car on our list answers that question loud and clear. It's another unassuming ride, but one that could leave many performance cars in the dust. The 1971 Pontiac T37 might look like a budget model that came straight out of the fleet sales catalog, but underneath that plain exterior, Pontiac was hiding something truly special. The T37 was often overshadowed by its more famous siblings like the GTO, but this was a car that packed a punch in the most unexpected way. You could order it with the 400 or 455 cubic inch V8, and either option gave you a powertrain capable of 330 horsepower and up to 500 pound-feet of torque. What made the T37 so dangerous was the combination of that torque and the car's relatively lightweight compared to its muscle car counterparts. With the right setup, it could hit 60 miles per hour in just 7.3 seconds. And remember, this was supposed to be a basic sedan. The T37 was an absolute sleeper, capable of dusting far flashier cars when it mattered most. Sure, it had its weaknesses. The suspension wasn't exactly sport-tuned, and the handling left much to be desired for anyone pushing the car too hard in corners. But in a straight line, it was all about raw, brute force. Would you have expected this from a car that looks like it belongs in your grandfather's driveway? Drop a comment and let me know, because up next we've got something that's even more understated, but definitely not to be underestimated. Number 4, 1970 Mercury Montego MX Brougham 428 Cobra Jet. Blink and you'd miss it. Just another quiet family hauler blending into the crowd, right? Wide chrome grille, cushy seats, a soft ride. Nothing about it screamed trouble, but that's exactly why it was dangerous. Say hello to the 1970 Mercury Montego MX Brougham 428 Cobra Jet. It didn't chase street cred with stripes or spoilers. It didn't need to. Hidden beneath the gentlemanly styling and luxury trim was Ford's infamous 428 Cobra Jet V8, a monster engine usually reserved for hardcore muscle machines. Quiet, composed, and brutally quick when provoked, this Montego proved that the loudest cars aren't always the ones you should fear. With a monstrous 360 horsepower and an impressive 480 pound-feet of torque, the 428 Cobra Jet was more than capable of pushing this seemingly mild-mannered sedan to 60 miles per hour in under 7 seconds. To put that into perspective, this was faster than many of the more serious muscle cars of the time. Yet from the outside, the Montego MX Brougham didn't scream speed. No over-the-top spoilers, no hood scoops, no aggressive body kit, just a clean, conservative look that made it the perfect sleeper. Of course, Montego had its limitations. Being a luxury sedan, it didn't have the tight handling or cornering prowess of true muscle cars. The suspension was geared more toward comfort than performance, making it less agile on twisty roads. But when it came to sheer straight-line speed, few could match the unexpected punch of the 428 Cobra Jet, and the best part? No one saw it coming. Just another unassuming Mercury until it left them eating dust on the way to the next light. Number 3, 1971 Chrysler Newport 440. Picture this. You're stuck in traffic next to a massive, cushy land yacht. The kind of car you'd expect to see easing into a country club parking lot. Smooth lines, soft ride, not a hint of aggression. You'd never guess it's hiding a storm under the hood. That's the 1971 Chrysler Newport 440. Built for comfort and calm, the Newport's plush seats and quiet ride lulled everyone into thinking it was just another big cruiser. But pop the hood, and there it was, a 440 cubic inch V8, the same heart that powered some of Mopar's wildest street legends. It didn't need flashy stripes or loud pipes to make a statement, just a heavy right foot. The 440 cubic inch V8 engine in the Newport was no slouch. It delivered around 375 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque, a powertrain that was more than capable of putting this large sedan in the 0 to 60 miles per hour range in just about 7 seconds. Not bad for a car that was meant to be a daily driver for your parents or grandparents. While its competition was focused on flashy styling and aggressive design, the Newport flew completely under the radar, all while packing some serious power. However, it wasn't perfect. The Newport was a heavy car, and with that came some compromises. Handling and cornering weren't exactly a strong suit, especially with a suspension system tuned for comfort rather than performance. Still, its torque and straight-line speed were undeniable. This was a car that could easily pull ahead of other muscle cars without even breaking a sweat. If you had one of these parked in your driveway, you'd be the last person anyone would expect to be quick off the line. If you're enjoying this list, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next sleeper on our list. It's a real game changer. Number 2, 1970 Chevrolet Biscane 454. Now picture this. A plain Jane sedan rolls up next to you. No flashy paint, no racing stripes, just a slab-sided Chevy that looks ready for a grocery run. Nothing about it screams threat, but that's where you'd be dead wrong. This was the 1970 Chevrolet Biscane 454. One of the meanest sleepers of its time. Hidden under its no-frills exterior was the heart of a monster. A 454 cubic inch V8. Churning out a brutal 360 horsepower and a jaw-dropping 500 pound-feet of torque. This wasn't some high-strung race car begging for attention. It was raw, unfiltered muscle wrapped in an everyday disguise. While others lined up in their flashy GTOs and Challengers, the Biscane just waited, calm, quiet, almost bored, until the light turned green. Then it would launch like a missile, leaving everyone in a cloud of dust and confusion. No flexing, no noise, just pure blue-collar brutality hidden in plain sight. Now here's the real kicker. The Biscane wasn't designed to be a street racer. In fact, it was built as a fleet car, primarily aimed at government and corporate buyers. Yet in the hands of the right driver, it could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 6 seconds, easily outpacing some of the era's more famous performance cars, all while looking like a commuter car you'd see at a red light. But of course, no car is perfect. The Biscane's heavy frame and less than perfect suspension meant that it wasn't the sharpest handler, and pushing it too hard around corners could lead to some serious body roll. But when it came to raw acceleration and knocking down those quarter-mile times, the Biscane was a force to be reckoned with. Do you think the Biscane could outrun some of the more famous muscle cars from this era? Drop a comment and let me know. Number 1. 1974 Oldsmobile Cutless, Salon 455. This is it, the grand finale, the sleeper that takes everything we've seen so far and cranks it up to 11. It's the car that could outrun most of the fast cars of its day while looking like it should be parked in your grandparents' driveway next to their gardening tools. No spoilers, no flashy decals, just an unassuming presence that hit a powerhouse engine capable of crushing quarter-mile times and leaving muscle cars behind in its rearview mirror. Enter the 1974 Oldsmobile Cutless Salon 455. You might be thinking, wait, wasn't the Cutless more of a family car? Well, that's exactly what makes this version so sneaky. The Cutless Salon was designed to appeal to those who wanted a bit of luxury, mixed with a practical design. It had the comforts, the smooth ride, and the class you'd expect. But it also had something that most of its competitors didn't, the 455 cubic inch V8 engine. And this wasn't just any V8, it was a beast capable of 230 horsepower and an astonishing 355 pound-feet of torque. The Cutless Salon 455 didn't scream speed, but it certainly delivered it. With that kind of torque, it could easily launch from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 7 seconds, which was a respectable feat for any car of that era, let alone one that looked like it was built for comfort, not speed. What made this even crazier was the way it combined both luxury and performance. It had all the amenities you'd expect from a premium car, but when you gave it the gas, it felt like a muscle car. Sure, the Cutless had some typical flaws. Its size made it less agile, and while it had plenty of power, it didn't have the cornering precision of the smaller muscle cars. But in a straight line, it was a hidden gem, a luxury sedan that could take down the competition without breaking a sweat. The 1974 Oldsmobile Cutless Salon 455 might seem like the king of sleepers, but we're just getting warmed up. Next up, we're diving into the forgotten monsters. Cars so fast and so sneaky they slipped right past the factory rules, and a few were almost too wild for the streets. Smash that subscribe button and stay tuned, because the real legends of undercover speed are still hiding just around the corner. You won't believe what's coming.